Is there a move afoot to reshape trucking as we know it? Have you ever wondered why trucks are so expensive? Well, is there a play to control compliance costs at the expense of the little guy? This is more coming up tonight. Small fleets missing out on the big economies of scale, issues that make truck ownership profitable or possible. They're saying if you're not in the major leagues, like 10, 50, or 100 trucks strong, you might as well hang it up. Well, I'm telling you what, I think that's far from the case. Me personally, I don't believe it. Broadcasting from inside the Truckin City mobile studios, currently located in the middle of Washington State, having more fun than any new show host is allowed to have on YouTube. Boss Man here, single-handedly pointing out to you there always is a way to make trucking great again. And how better to do it than utilizing a skill given me by God to tell you guys exactly how things look in trucking. We're delayed by a day, but that's not the end of the world. I'm a working stiff. I drive this truck during the day, and I have other obligations. Sometimes don't allow me to do my due diligence, which is a broadcaster by night. I'm glad to be here talking with you guys, launching yet again another assault against the truth using something we all know as the truth in broadcasting. My little creation, run by the United States of Trucking, an organization I hope to utilize and make very popular. We're talking tonight about truck manufacturers. Are they manipulating the market to push electric trucks by creating artificial shortages, inflating EV prices by nearly $90,000 more than in Europe? Think about that. And ignoring compliance credits that could ease costs for truckers. We're diving into an article that I think you should know about, and we're going to talk about some things that, well, you small guys need to think about. It's clear they're prioritizing corporate power over practical, cost-effective solutions. And it's time they start listening to the backbone of this industry. People like you and me, who simply want to make a living. We don't want to deal with roadblocks. We don't want to deal with BS. So I'm going to tell you something. Stick with me, because today we're going to debate some of these topics and more about what's going on in the sales of trucks and the compliance of trucks and things noticed by some and here today debated by you and me right here on the front lines. Coming up on from Truckin City Central Command, you are on the front lines. Truckin News.
The semi-truck driver accused of causing that deadly crash on Highway 285 this week now under arrest.
Cutting edge opinion, and we will make trucking great again. Built for truckers.
You should be hauling that freight based on what works for you.
By truckers.
Remember, get them done.
Featuring.
I think trucking is a very good career.
And I am gonna beat them.
I'm gonna beat him too.
We don't do it just for us and our families. We do it for you guys.
Remember, truckers are people too.
Hosted by the El Rushbo of Truckin News, Boss Man. 860-785-3547. That's your chance to get in touch with us here in the studios and be part of the show. If you're feeling froggy and think of a story you'd like me to cover here on the front lines, by all means, get a hold of us via email at that'struckinnews@outlook.com. That's truckinnews@outlook.com. We are here running a show made by truckers for truckers. It is my pleasure to run hard and fast into the truth. Greetings, truck lovers. We are back behind the golden TIB microphone. We are running the best call-in show for truckers, and it is a show made for you guys. We welcome your input each and every day with everything we have to say. We're joined here not only by myself, but an experienced panel of over 150 years worth of experience on various ends of the spectrum in trucking today. We have joining us on this panel, Driving with John, my co-host and content creator, and a trucker with a message that truckers are people too. Runs his own YouTube channel and is incessant, like me, to get the message across that we can make trucking great again. Also joined by the man of the hour, the one, the only man that says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Runs his own Facebook group and YouTube channel, the Grumpy Old Trucker. Gentleman with lots of experience, hauling bull across the country, literally. The man and his dog, Thumper and Bo. God bless you. Thank you for joining us. And a man from the north with more yardstick experience than anybody under the sun. Welcome, Poet. God bless you. Thank you for joining us all. We have tonight an exciting cast of individuals talking, but it's not just them. It's you as well. We want you to comment or call the show right here, 860-785-3547. We are going to get to tonight's first item on the agenda, but I thought I'd mention a couple of real specific things I think we need to know about. Headlines worth mentioning. If you're in the Arizona area, there's a public hearing set for something called the Douglas International Commercial Land Port of Entry. On or about the 19th of November, from the hours of 7 to 5 p.m. to 7, they're going to hold a public comment hearing to get feedback on putting in a connector road to service that area. I don't know fully about the article because I didn't read the entire thing, but it looks like the city manager's office is putting up this public hearing to get feedback to put in a connector road to better service the trucking industry. So if you want to look that up, I'll have the link in the description under the word mention. Certainly give a thought to looking that up. And another doomed trucking company filing for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. We see them all the time. They're coming, they're going. I mean, they're all over the place. Sunset Logistics is one that is going belly up. There's another one. Bauer, I think, is another one in this article. They opine on what's happened, why it is. But if you want to lead in as to what's causing some of these companies to go belly up, then a great place to look is the mentions that I have put in there. It'll definitely give you a little bit of field of thought. So that being said, I'm going to bring our panelists up for some discussion here. Just bear with me a second. We are going to talk tonight about some things you need to know about, and then we're going to get on to my opening thought. Welcome to the show. How's things in John's world? Are truckers still people too? No audio, John. Click your audio. You got to check your audio. Yep, give him a second. All right. Thumper, what about you? How are things going in your neck of the woods, buddy? Grumpy, are you able to hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right. If you're willing to talk, how's things going with you? Anything we need to know about, you'd like the audience to know about?
Well, just want to quick say, I've got me a nice, decent truck now. So the company I'm working for, I'm actually able to make some money now.
Yeah.
Yay!
There you go. About time. You worked hard to earn it, so I think it's a good thing to have. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I had my mic muted and I was sitting there talking. You forgot to flip it down.
I kind of figured as much. So, what say you on this fine day, Thumper? What would you like people to know about?
You know what? It is a beautiful day out where my neck of the woods where I'm at today. I can't complain. It's not too hot, not too cold. But there is one thing that's bugging me. I've seen this on Facebook, and maybe this is something we could discuss later on down the road. I'm a very patriotic person. I fought for my country.
Okay.
I fly an American flag on the back of my truck. And I've seen it on Facebook just recently that it is a discrimination to our flag to fly that on the back of our trucks because of weather and whatever else. Well, you know what? There's a proper way of doing it. So that's kind of what's bugging me today, and maybe that's a discussion we could bring up in a future show or something.
All right. Well, for the remainder of this show, I would like to opine my thoughts. Patriotism is inside each and every one of us.
You bet.
The way in which we do it should not be under fire by those in mainstream, and yet it is constantly. But lo and behold, you've got people in social media that also feel it necessary to raise the battle cry of right and wrong ways. So while you're in the audience watching this show, if you want to, and feel free to, put down in the comments, let us know, is what Thumper talks about a bad thing or is it not? Put your thoughts in. Let's see if we can start that discussion. Otherwise, I take your idea and I take it to heart. We'll make a future show out of that because you know what? There's nothing wrong with being patriotic in this country, especially if you're over the road trucking like we are.
Oh, like I said, there's a correct way of doing it and there's a wrong way of doing it. When the weather's bad and at night, I take the flag off of my truck, I fold it up properly, and I have a spot inside my truck. But when it's nice and sunny out, yeah, I will admit there's a couple times where I've ran in the rain because you run into a rainstorm. There's just nothing you can do about it.
Sometimes when you're on a 2-lane, you can't exactly stop and, observe. Yeah, you can't. You have to observe safe maneuvers too. Yep. We have a caller on the line already, so let's welcome the caller in. Fate Truckin, not on the camera, but on the phone. God bless you. Thank you for joining our show tonight.
Good evening, gentlemen, and I am about to set fire here.
Oh, have we hit a nerve?
I think the greatest form of patriotism is realizing everybody is entitled to their own opinion, and you do you, and they can say and do what they want to do. I think that is the greatest form of patriotism.
Amen.
Because everybody in my family has fought for the freedom for me to speak my mind any way I deem fit, as long as I am not threatening somebody.
Amen. I like that approach. It is the whole reason I have the show I have. So thank you for noting that. And, like I said.
But I support Thumper flying a flag on the back of his trailer.
Amen to that. Wholeheartedly. I agree.
So,
Thank you, Faye.
I'm watching in the background, and every time I want to set fire to the show, I'm going to call in. Is that cool with you?
I love the idea. That's what we have the studio line for. Thank you for calling.
Don't worry, I'll annoy him. He'll be calling in.
All right, I hope everybody has a great day.
Great. Thanks for calling.
Happy Halloween, man.
It is snowing. Good. Okay. Well, anybody be careful going through Minnesota. Thank you for the update, Fate. We appreciate it. God bless.
Later.
Well, I don't know how we got on patriotism because the last thing I remember, you were asking me about our truckers still people. So let's go back to that for a second. Even on Halloween, when we wear our big scary masks, we're still people inside. So yes, truckers are always people too. So as for patriotism, there's lots of ways to show patriotism. So as long as you're not hating, I agree. So
that's it. Well, I'm not going to leave you out, but don't walk away from the camera, darn it. I was going to ask you, how do you people in your country express patriotism?
You're asking me?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're the only person outside the U.S.
Yeah. This could be long and boring, so I will try to keep it short.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, keep it short. I only have an hour show.
I spent many years trucking throughout all 49 continental states, 10 provinces, 3 territories. Nowhere else have I seen the kind of patriotism that Americans give to their flag, their country. Canada, patriotism? No, it's gimme, 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 gimme. Okay,
Well,
that's not.
Let me ask you on this. Let me ask you on this. Do you see a problem with what Thumpers described as what commonly people do, hanging a flag off the trailer? Do you see a problem with that?
Hell no.
Yeah. I don't see how I don't see how social media really buys that argument. I really don't.
I put the stars and bars in the back of my bunk, and I carry a 1 by 2 foot stars and stripes, and fly it when necessary on American holidays.
True that. True that. Want to recognize some guests. I got 7 Steves in the house, giving us a happy Halloween, folks. Definitely be careful driving them big rigs. Those kids are really small, hard to see, and usually occupy your blind spots. So please be careful out there, guys. We have a new guy, Traveling Monkey. Do you think the rates will come back up soon? You know, there's an up and down every cycle. There's rates up, rates down. It happens. I do think it's going to take a while, but you know what? We got to get through all this other mess first. So definitely stay tuned. I do have other opinions on rates, but we'll certainly opine more on that as we go throughout the show. You want to say something, Dupper?
I do. On the whole flag thing real quick, and then I'll leave it at what it's at. So like I said, I served for our country. When we flew the flag overseas at our camp, whatever, it got damaged, it got rained on, it got dust storm, everything else. But that right there, flying the American flag, to me, this is my opinion, flying the American flag to me shows your support for your country, and me flying it on the back of my truck shows that I support our troops, who we are, and I still believe America can be great again.
You betcha.
We just need to come together and everything else. There's a wrong way of treating the flag, and then there's the right way. When it gets bad and damaged and everything else, there's a proper way to dispose it, and that's how I do it. I don't care what anybody thinks. I really don't. I'm displaying my freedom, my rights, and what I stand for.
Amen to that. Well, hold your thought. We're going to go into our first segment, which I think is a good one today. So hold your thought, guys. Let's talk about the real cost of leasing versus owning. Coming up on the front lines. Got to remember to mute your mics, guys. Got to remember. Anyway, we're diving into this report from KPMG. It's actually an article that I seen in Truckers. Let me see. Truckers. I want to make sure I quote this right. No, it's actually a Trucking Dive article. That's what it is. Trucking Dive article. Let me get back to where I was talking. Okay. Now, according to this article in Trucking Dive, small fleets are missing out on the big economies of scale. They're saying that if you're not in the major leagues, like 10, 50, 100 trucks, you may as well hang up the ownership keys and just stick to leasing. But hold on just a minute, okay? This report, while it's got its research, misses a vital truth about who we are as truckers, okay? Making sure I got everything where it needs to be. Okay, there we go. When they say economies of scale, they're talking about corporate bottom lines, mathematical efficiencies. They aren't talking about the American trucker who, like you and me, are out here with a handful of rigs, each one prized workhorses, obviously meticulously cared for. A truck's more than a line item. It's our livelihood and it's our legacy, right? The whole economies of scale argument just doesn't speak to the small trucking companies and fleet owners' reality. Okay. A trucker with fewer than 10 trucks, let's say, I have one panelist there that'll probably either agree or disagree with me. They know that each and every truck in their fleet intimately and everything about it, the cost, the good, the bad, everything. They know the quirks, the mileage, the maintenance records, everything. Small fleet owners have a real hands-on connection with each truck. And what the big accounting firms don't understand is that close personal oversight actually saves money in ways a mega fleet could never do. See, when you own a small fleet, you have flexibility and you have control of your rigs. Your trucks aren't just assets on a spreadsheet. They're your way of life. And that means a small fleet owner can often see ways to cut costs without compromising quality and, more importantly, safety. They find mechanics they trust. They buy parts that last. They avoid costly markups and leasing companies tack on routinely and pass this knowledge down to their other drivers. In some cases, the next generation. This report may say self-reported costs rose by 14%. And if you check it out, that's what you'll see. With third-party data saying it's more like 38%. But let's be clear here. The true cost of ownership is more than just numbers. There's a sense of satisfaction in here, okay? There's a real sweat equity in owning your own truck. The pride of putting your name on the cab door and knowing that every mile is racked up came from just that, sweat equity. Sure, we've got costs going up. No doubt about that. Fuel, parts, insurance, all that. But the real savings comes when you can control the truck and when you're not signing off a check to some leasing company that's telling you how to manage your bottom line. So let me know your thoughts on my opinion. I mean, that's my thoughts on leasing versus owning. I want to hear what you think. I want to know. Comment below. Call our studio, 860-785-3547. Let me ask you, do you think that owning a truck provides more control over long-term goals and your long-term outlook on trucking? Moreover, leasing a truck. What do you think? Grumpy, what's your first thought when I come to you first? What's your first thought on the give and take of everything I just said? What do you think?
Well, I've tried the lease purchase game before. I failed at it, and the reason I failed at it is because I just didn't want to have to be out for months and months and months at a time. I only wanted to be out 2 or 3 weeks at a time and go home for about 3 or 4 days and go back out. Well, the leasing game is not for everybody. Buying a truck and owning a truck is not for everybody. I will just say that straight up. There are those out there that are dedicated to where they're wanting to live out on the road and stay out there. And that's fine, but that's not for everybody. And right now, with the company I work for, they're small, but, we have like 135 trucks on our fleet. We do well. Rates are not real good right now, but hey, we're making it.
Right. There you go. John, what do you think? You think, there's more to it than the numbers, like I said in the open?
There's always more to it than the numbers. I mean, yeah, there's always more to it than the numbers. I don't think we need to expand on it too bad, but I want to hear what the other guys have to say.
Fair argument.
Short and sweet tonight.
Fair argument. I mean, honestly, if you read the report, I mean, there's a lot of give and take to whether or not, it's good to be leasing versus owning a truck. From from the lease standpoint, Larry, what do you think? I mean, do you think that you feel better owning a truck, or do you feel like you're saving something by being in a lease contract? What's your thought?
Sorry about being late. I couldn't get my eyes to work. But anyway,
You still look like you still can't.
Yeah.
They're half caffeinated.
There you go.
No, but
There you
anyway. Well, speaking from my point of view, I'm a lease purchase. And I'd be one to say that it would be easier to go to a dealership, put 20, 30 grand down on a truck and walk out with a truck.
Mm-hmm.
That way you cut out the middleman with the lease, pretty much. You choose what you do.
That.
You decide where you go and how you get there, where you fill up at.
Right.
Here,
yeah,
I have the choice where I can fill up as long as it's in their network. Yep. But at the same time, if you're going to put that 20 or 30 grand down on a truck to be a true owner operator,
yeah,
then you better have the money to back it up for the breakdowns to happen.
Certainly.
While
I want to recognize
doing the lease part.
Yeah. Didn't mean to cut you off, Larry. Want to recognize somebody in the audience, giving John a membership. Looks like John, you want to say a word about that?
Actually, I think it's a super chat. Thank you, Trucking is Dead. He's been around for a little while now. I appreciate it so much, guys. Says he's helping me hit my goals. Well, I appreciate that so much. So
we always do. Everybody.
The lease thing versus the owner operator. It's always okay. I'm not going to say always. If you get into the right lease deal with the right carrier, it's not a bad decision. If you get into the wrong lease deal with the wrong carrier, it's a horrible decision. It could literally take you out of trucking. So when you're going to sign something like that, just read the small print and be careful of the mega carriers, because they're in it to make money, not to help you.
I got two more questions I'm going to address the panel and the audience with. Please opine. Let me know your thoughts on these two questions. But then I'm also going to go with, just hold your thoughts for just a second, John. Some concrete advice I think everybody should know if they're going to look into this whole question of leasing versus owning. So I've got three good things to look at. So we'll opine on that in just a moment.
I got something too.
I was just going to go to you and ask you, Thumper, what's your thoughts on the whole thing?
Okay, so Larry and Grumpy knows where I stand with this, because we literally just had this discussion the other night. And it set me off, because I see a lot of people get screwed with this lease to purchase stuff, and it pisses me off.
Right.
You lease to purchase, I'm sorry, there is no lease to purchase. You are never going to own the truck. Because they're going to find a way to put you in a new truck, and then your lease to purchase starts all over again. You really got to read your fine print, unless you get into a small company like, say, I'm throwing Fade out there, and me. If you get into a small company like where me and Fade say we own the trucks and we want to get rid of that truck, you're interested in buying it, that's the only way you're going to own the truck. Because honestly,
and there are those operations out there that are legit and are looking to A, profit, but also B, do an honest business. It's not like they don't exist. There are those out there. So I'll agree with that.
They're very, very few in between is what it is.
Very hard to find. Yes. So be very careful doing your homework. John, you want to say something?
I just happen to work with that guy named Fate Trucking, and I'll tell you, I work for the same guy, and I lease a truck. So, but this is a lease of ownership, not a lease, not renewable where you switch trucks all the time. This is my truck. So,
right.
And he makes sure the payments are suitable and the terms are suitable. He's not out to make money on his lease. He's out to get you rolling, because that's where he makes his money. So
exactly. He isn't going to make it unless you do.
Right,
obviously,
exactly.
If you take on a lease
Sorry,
with a program, go ahead, Thumper.
I was say sorry. My iPad decided it was gonna F
That's
you
fine.
type of deal.
Technicality,
technology, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But no, and then also Also, I'm going to kind of go off what Fate always says all the time about being an owner-operator. You got to be a businessman to make it work as an owner-operator. You got to do what's best for you, find the right loads. You got to have a good game plan.
Yes, you do.
You have to be a business owner driving a truck, not a trucker running a business.
That's right.
Exactly.
There you go. Good way to put that. Good way to put that. I mean, second question. How much control do you feel you lose when you buy versus lease? Well, I should reword that. Lease versus buy. I mean, honestly, a lot of people steer away from, just as the argument you posed a minute ago, Thumper, about not owning at the end of it, when you really probably could if you work for the right person. Not to say it's not possible, but with that, you also lose certain controls. What would that be, and how would that? I mean, Larry, would you like to opine on that? Would that ring with you at all? Losing control versus not?
Well, you lose a lot of control because you get told where to go, what loads to pull, and really, on my end, like if you were to do the owner, but go out and buy the truck from a dealership or even private owner or whatever, you have more control over what brokers you deal with, what loads you deal with, depending on what commodities you deal with, whether it be reefer, flatbed, whatever. Here, where I lease at, it's all refrigerated. Every now and then they throw a few dry loads, but you don't get the say so of where you fill up at, where you
right.
You can't just go to a mom and pop place and fill up.
Right. Yeah, you're limited as to fuel resources, places you can get work done. Certain things. I get that. And
while as buying the truck from a dealership, you can do that if your fuel card allows it or whatever.
Yeah.
But
a lot of people talk a lot about a lot of people talk a lot about ownership as if you buy from an actual dealer and you pay cash and you work it out financing, whatever. I mean, all that's relevant, but the buying a truck and owning a truck versus leasing is always the way to go because you can have a warranty, whereas with a lease, you get what you get. So warranties are less and less a part of the whole nomenclature of leasing because you've already got usually a secondhand truck. And I don't know many people leasing brand new trucks, although they're probably out there. I don't do the whole lease thing, so I can't really opine on that. But it doesn't strike me as being something in the mainstream. So somebody knows differently, let me know. Trucking is dead, opining on the marketing, or the question we opened the show with. Trucking industry is in its decline, so is our country. Do you think that's a coincidence? I think that's a mentality. I don't exactly agree with 100%, but I could go on and on with a number of show attributes as to why I think one way or the other, but this ain't the show for that. But needless to say, I don't agree with the country being in decline. I agree with the government being in decline. Again, a whole thing. Not a political show, but I'm just going to leave it at that. So, everyone's entitled to your opinion, and Trucking's Dead, I thank you for yours as well.
Can I make a comment on that?
Sure, may. Go right ahead.
I was just going to say, doesn't that happen every 4 years around this time?
Yeah, it does indeed. It does indeed. Well, I'll tell you what. Last question I got for you is, what advice would you guys give new truckers if they were on that fence of deciding between leasing and buying? And before you answer the question, before anybody opines on this, let me put my 2 cents in. I got to make this point known, and everybody on the panel can see me after I get done. 3 points. If I'm wrong, tell me. If I'm right, back me up. Know your numbers. Best thing to do, know your numbers. Look at everything you're presented with very skeptically. If 2 and 2 don't add up to 4, definitely don't consider it. Okay? Leasing companies will try to sell you on convenience and the predictability of costs. But remember, that never happens that way. Nothing ever works like a plan until you know the numbers and work the plan profitably. Okay? Profits you make in ownership come from knowing your trucks and being smart with everything you do. So knowing your numbers will help you. Think long-term utility, not just size. A lot of people when they shop for trucks don't do it right. They think of the wrong thing. Some get the long nose. Some think of the class look. Some think of the stature. No, if you're buying a truck, think long-term utility. A smaller fleet doesn't have to mean a smaller impact. A well-known 5-truck operation can make serious waves if those rigs are geared up and set up right. And I've got people on this panel that can definitely back me up on that one. Lastly, consider your control, not just your costs. If you are getting into trucking and you're considering this whole ownership versus leasing argument, know that ownership gives you the power to make decisions you can't make leasing. Okay? Your control is things like your maintenance schedule, where you fuel, where you drive. Ultimately, everything about your business is geared as to whether or not you have control and you can make the important calls when it counts. So, guys, that's my list. Let me know if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm right. Add anything I missed. Anyone at any point in time can chime in.
No, I'd agree with you. I would say that ownership is always the better way to go. Like for me, for example, I'm technically a lease guy, but I'm owning the truck. I'm a unique situation because the guy I work for gives me the ability. I have full control, just like I own the truck, whole deed in hand. Though I don't, I lease it through him, but it's a very low interest. But yeah, ownership is always going to be best for you. 100%.
Thumper, you're probably one best geared. I'd normally ask and rely on Fate on this one because he's owned and has experience in that. But I'm going to give this one to you because you own a trucking company, which I think falls right in the category of what we're talking about in this article tonight. So give me your thoughts. Owning versus leasing, what would you say to people considering that argument or that decision?
Hooded truck. I'll tell you that right now. They look nice. But fuel economy wise sucks. If you're going to be over the road, they're not. A hooded truck is not the way to go. Now, my instance, yes,
I'm sure there's a lot, and I thought of you on this because there's a lot to be said for utility. If those hooded trucks you have provide the utility and requirements that you need, well, then you've got the right gear. But that's all universal because a lot of people want to buy the same trucks you have with the pushers, with the big engines, with the flat, and they don't have a need for it. And that's why I brought the whole thing up, because a lot of people do buy incorrect.
Over the road, I guess a lot of people call them plastic trucks, quotations. I don't know what people really call them. I call them your economy trucks is what I call them. There you go. Curb snippers, whatever you want to call them. So if you give me, I will flip over and I'll show you guys my setup. And this,
go ahead.
The setup I have works great for me for what I do. So here we go. Give me one. Figure out how to turn my camera around again here. Here we go.
Flip it around and go landscape. So I'm gonna give you full screen.
Oh, landscape.
Yep. Go full screen.
There we go. So this is my setup right here. It's a 379. The flat top I hate. I'll admit that right now. I wish I had a stand-up sleeper for the more aerodynamics. But I got my pusher right here because generally, and then I got a triax trailer. I haul cattle, and with hopper bottom, we run triaxles also. Okay, so well here, I'll just do this again. Oh, that works. So yeah, I mean this setup works great for me. I built this truck. This is kind of like my dream truck. So I built this. I wanted to. My other trucks that I have, yes, they're 379 W900s. They all have pushers, but they don't look exactly like this. So with my line of work, I do over the road, but we're considered regional over the road. We pick up, we drop off at the over and over again. I've seen people that run I've seen people run this truck next to me, it's a Volvo. I've seen people run cattle with those trucks. That works best for them. You got to find what works best for you. I just happened to got lucky, fall into these trucks, and that's just kind of how I ended up with them. But I do have a couple. I got a Columbia, a Freightliner Columbia. That's a more aerodynamic truck. But then again, you got to get what fits your needs.
Amen to that. Amen to that, indeed. Yes, sir. Fitting needs is really critical in today's day and age. I mean, so when you're making the decision whether you're going to buy or whether you're going to lease, that is the largest part of it. You got to make sure that what you're considering is going to work for you, whether you buy or lease or not. But I got to tell you something. If you're looking to buy a truck, my next segment coming up is a must. You've got to know a lot of things when it comes to buying a truck that, quite honestly, a lot of people nowadays don't even think about. But we're going to talk about it today on our next segment called Frontline Debate. A power play against truckers. In an article in Trucking Business Weekly titled Trucking Makers Manipulating the Market with Draconian Rules, they opined on exactly what is at stake here. And believe me, there's a few things here that I'm going to raise that probably will make you think again next time you're out looking for a truck. A fellow named Robert Manley is the editor and writer of this article. Now, his article goes into a deep dive and basically a revelation into the games truck manufacturers are currently playing. And let me tell you, they're not the kind of games where truckers win. We're seeing something here that should concern every one of you. He highlights that these truck makers are cooking up our artificial shortages. Okay? Shortages of trucks that we know are still critical to our industry. Dealers are screaming for inventory. And what are they getting? They're getting a wall of silence from the people that make the trucks. A shrug of indifference. It's almost as if they're making us think electric trucks are the only thing being made. They're the future, but they're not. Let me be honest here. There's still segments of this industry, routes that run coast to coast, that just aren't ready to be fueled by electric right now. I have a video which I'm going to release first thing tomorrow morning. I encourage you to watch. It's under Journal, talking about a different form of fueling. It will go out first thing tomorrow, so look for it. And when these manufacturers impose quotas on dealers, forcing them to stock a certain number of EVs over regular trucks, it really makes you wonder. They're trying to squeeze us dry in the name of compliance, but it's a fine line, okay? It's a pure market manipulation is what I call it. They want to make the rules, they want to stack the deck and dictate what we buy without even a thought of our livelihoods. Then there's a price gouging, okay? Manley pulls no punches when he explains this one. Neither will the $90,000 difference I mentioned in the open. I mean, come on, folks. I mean, we could see what's happening here. This isn't about the price of parts or shipping costs or anything else that makes sense. It's purely gouging. They're raising prices on trucks with the hope that you're going to be influenced the way they want you to be, not the way you need to be. Now, if the average trucker dropping a cool $90,000 is to comply with a law, it's not just about being tough. It's damn near impossible. Manufacturers are pricing out their own markets, forcing us into a corner, even when we want to upgrade, or if we want to go electric, they're charging us in the wrong directions, and they're making it damn near impossible. The longer they keep the price high, the more they squeeze people like you and me trying to actually do the right thing and meet the compliance we need to make. Finally, there's a real kicker. Manley hits on a real important point, and this is one we can't ignore. These truck makers are playing politics with compliance. Instead of using credits and flexibilities in the law to make this transition smoother, they're choosing to ignore every option that would make things easier for dealers and lastly us. Because everything goes to the dealers first, then we get what's sent them. You think they're about complying with the law? No, they're about making a political statement and flexing some corporate muscle in the name of profit. Look, as a trucker, we want to do the most cost-effective thing. We want to stay on the right side of the law, but we don't want to go bankrupt in the process. These manufacturers, they're not even interested in credit, in what's called the credit market, which would ease our path forward. Manley points out that PACCAR and Volvo have compliant models already on their shelves or in their showrooms. Those of you that own PACCAR products, you already know what I'm talking about. So my question is, why aren't the other ones playing nice and joining in? They want to put on a show. They want to keep the pressure high. They want to make it so expensive that the rest of us are forced to play by their rules and not actually make a living. Tell me in the comments, do you agree with me? Do you think we need to pull the rug out from this argument? Or do you see things differently? Let's debate this. Let's talk about it. Because it's clearly obvious. They do manipulate pricing and they do manipulate inventory. This ain't the first time an article has highlighted this, and it certainly will not be the last. So what's your thought? What do you think? Tell me. You think it's manipulation?
Hey, can I start?
Flip a coin.
So I'll start because I had a reality check. I am looking at newer trucks. It's time to update my fleet. Simple as that. Right. My trucks are older. It's time to update them. So I went to Kenworth and I said, well, I would like a brand new W900. You know, I'd like to one brand new truck in my lifetime. The sales guy looked at me and said, we don't make W900s anymore. They quit making W900s because W900s could not meet the emissions is what, and they didn't want to redesign the truck and ruin the W900 name. They quit making them after the They quit making them after the 100th anniversary. The 100th anniversary W900s were the last one. So a legend in trucking has, as long in the 379s, they don't make them anymore either. So we have the two biggest legendary iconic trucks in America that died because they couldn't meet emissions.
But yet the engines that go in them typically do. So I'm failing to understand that. There have been articles and sources out that said that Cummins X15 is far complying with
it is. It is, but a truck has to meet a certain miles per gallon. Well, when you get a truck like that, that's more wind drag, so it brought that percentage down. And that's
I see.
Why they had to quit making
I see the frame of reference you're using. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I didn't realize that's what you were.
Yeah. So emissions is to blame on this. We're losing our iconic trucks. The government is trying to push us to trucks that some of us really don't want to drive. You know, they're trying to control us on what we can and cannot do. Okay. So I just, like I said, I found that out, and then I found out we were doing this story today. I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is a good example. This is a really good on what the emissions is having effect on us.
Right. So what do you think, John? You were going to add something before Paul started?
Yeah. In the country we live in, we're not owed a truck. No. If they're going to charge too much, the market will only bear what it'll bear. They won't sell trucks. I mean, they can have whatever agendas, whatever they want to do. If truckers can't afford to buy trucks and they're pricing themselves out of the market, we'll buy used trucks. I mean, all they're really doing is hurting themselves. Let's be honest here. That's how our system runs.
Right.
Not to say that we're glorified or anything, but the people buying the trucks have all the power. So if they're pricing themselves out, buy a used truck. Actually, it's probably more economical anyway.
Well, and then too, again, pushing the video that I'm releasing tomorrow, a lot has to be thought of about this whole EV push. I mean, I'm releasing a video talking about alternative fuels. A lot is said in trucking today about everybody's fear of going all electric. And yet, as I stand here talking to you, I'm seeing a question. That question worded exactly says, is the push for EVs in trucking more about politics than practicality? My thing is, it's purely politics. The only reason they're pushing it is because of this zero emissions standard California is asking. And yeah, it's not the greatest, it's not perfect, but it's the law. And I can only blame the lawmakers on that, not the industry. But that goes only so far as the argument I'm making in my video tomorrow about alternative fuels. A lot can be said about alternatives that nobody's actually even considered, least of which are the politicians. So, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think they're pushing this EV thing at the detriment of every other possibility or what?
Oh, it's obviously political. I mean, we're not there yet. Not that I don't think we'll get there soon. Not that I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah, it's going to happen. But we're not there yet. We've had this discussion many times throughout many of these lives. Basically, the political class is pushing it on us because that's what they want. Well, if the technology's not there, we're not going to have it. It's that simple.
Exactly. Renewable natural gas. That's my topic on tomorrow's video. Tune in and watch it. Thumper, what do you think? I mean, that by itself will definitely keep you busy.
Yeah, it's I don't
It's a
know.
crappy
I mean,
subject.
I see a
but I
lot
think
of
it's worth talking.
it is. It's not just a crappy subject, it's a touchy subject. Yes, there's alternative
Come
fuels
on
out
now.
there.
I was trying to play on words. You didn't fall for it, darn it.
No, I didn't. I mean, Minneapolis, they have a lot of natural gas trucks, which is fine. But my opinion on like natural gas or anything like that,
Right.
it's just like the same. It's my opinion when you're pulling a bottle trailer. Like there's a guy leaving the truck stop here in an anhydrous ammonia tanker. That's a time bomb waiting to happen. One wrong move, run wrong, hit, anything like that, it could be disastrous. But I mean, I'm always up newer, better ways for the trucking industry, whether it's natural fuel or electric or anything like that. But for now, I'm sticking to diesel because that works best for me.
Hey, that's what you got to do. That's the way to go, man. Grumpy,
Yeah,
what do you think? Go ahead,
Grumpy.
Tom, you first.
I was just going to say, I was just going to have a buddy that works for UPS, and they use natural gas. So it is out there, but that's all local routes. The problem is, yes, there's some infrastructure set up for that for a longer haul, but not enough, I don't think. I don't know. That's just my opinion, though. I don't have any facts behind that. So,
everybody has their opinion, and you have every right to yours. Grumpy, I mean, when it comes down to it, do you think that there's a little bit to be said about who really benefits from these so-called shortages that they're talking about in today's purchasing a truck? I mean, who really benefits? I mean, you obviously, you're not getting anywhere by being told there's something that's not there when it really is.
Well, I mean, there's not a shortage of trucks. To be honest with you, it's the factor that they're having to produce them, like Thumper was saying. They have to meet certain guidelines, and they put all this electronic crap on them. So, I mean, the days of like with Thumper, the days of being your own mechanic, working on your own equipment, that's long gone. Now you've got to have a friggin' laptop or a big computer and hook it up to it just to figure out what's wrong with the plumbing thing.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's been the case for a while now. It's not something that's been extremely new. I mean, I'd like the try steering away from this, but I almost can't help because I've read a couple of articles. I'm not just, talking out smack. I've read a couple of articles where the question of collusion or competition has always raised into it. I mean, this coordinated ratio of only we have just so many of these trucks and so much of this, and the differences in price. I mean, should people actually look into that? I mean, what do you think? I mean, if I want a classic, well, not a classic, an ICE engine in my truck, and I know I've got time left, and I can work that truck till it dies, I should be able to buy it, and I should not be expected to pay $90,000 more money just to own it. So that's where the whole question of collusion versus competition comes in. I may want a truck for my purpose, as we started the first story out. I want a utility. I want it for a purpose. Why should I be expected to pay a mortgage over the truck more so than any other time in history? What do you guys think?
Well, like I said, I mean, it's what the market bears.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just gonna. I was muted. Sorry.
Oh,
Go ahead.
like I was gonna say, it's what the market bears. I mean, currently, brand new trucks cost what, $250,000 right now, where just 5 years ago they were $150,000. I mean, are we making more money over that time? I don't think so.
The only one making the money is the big corporations.
Well, my point is they keep raising the price of trucks. They're going to outprice themselves out of our industry because the normal owner operators can't buy those trucks anymore. They're too expensive. So the mega carriers are the only ones buying new trucks, and then we're all running their used trucks. I mean, honestly, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Well, Boss Man said something. He was going to find a truck to his needs. Now, that I was thinking a used truck. Because, some of us may be able to afford a brand new truck, afford the payments and stuff like that. But let's get real here.
Yeah.
I mean, 90% or 98%. I'm off the top of my head. I don't know if it's true or not. But let's say 98% of us can't afford a new truck. So we're gonna go to used trucks. Okay. There's been a truck for sale that I've been looking at on Facebook. Last year, it was at $150,000, and it was 2006. I just saw it again. I lowered down to $80,000. The truck market fluctuates so bad on used trucks. You got it. Sometimes it's better to wait to get that better deal on a nicer truck with low miles or whatever, or do you suck it up and buy a truck with really high miles and possibly the engine might blow up 10,000 miles down the road when the truck market's high.
Yeah, you never know.
It's a gamble. I mean, it's the same thing with a brand new truck. I mean, you could buy a brand new truck and a week later the engine could blow up. They're mass produced. There's nothing you can do.
I was watching.
Yes, it's under warranty.
Yeah, I was watching something today. In fact, I was doing research for the show. And I remember pulling up a video talking about the Freightliner Cascadia manufacturing process. And one of the things they noted about some of the employees of that particular plant located in Detroit, by the way, was that, they were under a lot of stress at one point because of the amount of recalls that were safety related during, I think it was the early 2000s. Just going over history is basically what it was, and it was talking about some of the problems they've had. And that's the other thing. I mean, when you build a truck, I mean, until it's actually been in production for a while and you've got a number of them cranked out, some of these things you got to work out, and it's a couple of runs on an assembly line before you actually know whether or not that specific model is produced without problems, and you run into the recalls, the safety issues, and in some cases catastrophic loss because of those issues. So, just building on your point there, Thumper. So
let me point out to you, the reason why I'm saying used is the way to go is a brand new Mack Anthem. The truck I'm driving right now runs about $160,000. The one I'm driving is 4 years old, and you can buy it for between $40,000 and $60,000. Yes, it has a few miles, but it's still under warranty. which makes
Right.
more economical sense as a new owner operator or as an owner operator at all to make a payment on $50,000 compared to $160,000. I mean, so
Yeah, that's a
that's
no-brainer.
my point.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
point. I think that's the way most people are going nowadays for
Well,
that reason. It just makes more economical sense. So
yeah,
Well,
I agree.
and
I
to
agree.
kind of elaborate on what John was just saying. Like I said, the other day I was over at Kenworth at updating my fleet. So they had a W900 100th anniversary. I just like the way the trucks look. You know, they're kind of a rare, you know, a limited edition. And I have a fascination for limited edition stuff, like even like little tinkers and all that stuff. But anyway, I wanted $215,000 for that truck. Well, then I got curious. So I went in there. I'm like, well, how about a T680, a used one?
Wow.
Oh, they have T680 with the ISX 15, 18 speed or 13 speed for like 40 grand, and it's only got miles. I mean, there's a
Wow.
huge price difference there between hooded and, you know, your plastic trucks or whatever you want to call them. But you may want a certain truck, like a certain style and everything else, but what's more practical for you is what it comes down to.
On
You know, what can
practicality,
you afford? What?
yeah,
Yes. What can
practicality
you
has to win the day.
afford? What can you? Yeah. I mean, you could always buy a truck that gives you looks later on down the road. That's how I started.
You got to start somewhere.
I
and you
started
gotta
out my
profit
truck.
first.
Yeah. I mean, I started my trucking career out in a Volvo. I will admit it. I bought a Volvo for $20,000 hauled random freight, and the panel will tell you I'm not a Volvo guy. But that's what I started my career in, Volvo.
he secretly loves them.
I have now.
At the time, it was probably the best and most affordable truck at the time. So can't knock a person like yourself for making that choice and that call. So
you work hard. You work hard. You'll achieve what you want.
Prior to my
It's
truck
the American
ownership,
dream.
prior to my truck ownership, my heart was set on buying a Kenworth. Little did I know that when I actually started shopping around for a truck, I was actually going to get steered toward a Peterbilt. And little did I understand at the time, they're the same damn truck. The only difference was the body, the chassis, the engine, the all that the same. But I lucked out getting a good truck, and I worked out a good price for it. And I learned a lot from that transaction too. So there's a lot of truth to what you just said. I mean, there's so much to be said about owning a used truck versus a new. And I bring up the whole new argument because, I mean, if you really sit back and wonder, at the start of this show, I asked a very important question. Why are trucks so expensive? I think we've adequately covered that ground on this show tonight. We now know why. And because of that, our best advice to people out there looking for trucks, buy used. Buy what works. Buy what fits you. Buy for utility, not for image. Last thoughts, guys, as we go around. Larry, you got anything to add to this? You've been quiet the entire topic. What you got to add to this?
I apologize. I was getting unloaded and had to do all that stuff, so I didn't think you wanted to hear that.
Apologies are a sign of weakness.
But anyway, me and my opinion is very little, but I love my old cab overs, as I've stated many times. One day, I will own one. Is it practical? No. But
in the meantime,
they are still cool looking going down the road.
Exactly. In the meantime, you have what you have. So there's no business faulting you for that. I mean, you know, you like what you got. I've seen your truck, so I mean, it's sweet looking. You know, even though you're leasing it, you don't own it. If you did own it, be a different story.
Let's not make it sound like we're taking a step down here. If you buy a used truck and it's a well-maintained used truck, it could still look sharp. It could still be the truck that you want. Yeah. I mean, like, I don't want to make it sound like we all just want brand new trucks, shiny things that are all cool and all, but no, I mean, like I said, the truck I'm in now, it's a 2020. It's 4 years old. Right. It's the exact truck I wanted. I mean,
it fits
it is.
you. So I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's a
I mean,
Mac.
that's a great.
Every
Yeah.
Mac fits me. You know.
Yeah. you're just a Mac whore. I'm sorry. That's just the only way I can put it with you.
What?
And
Do you get the
I agree.
do you
I
get the
agree.
gold
I
bullet?
agree with you.
Oh.
Go ahead, Larry. You
Go
first.
ahead, Thumper. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna tease on John a little bit. I was gonna say, do you get the gold bulldog or the silver bulldog?
Yeah.
All I know is I get to stare at his butt all day long.
That sounds too perverted. I think we're skimming the line from G to R rated R show.
It's a bulldog. It's a metal bulldog on my hood. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Grumpy, what's your thoughts on this?
I was gonna agree.
Better. I was just gonna
I'm
say it's better
beginning
than
to
looking
really
at the butt of
think
a dog.
myself. Who cares? Drive a truck as long as it's running and making you money. All right,
Well, I mean,
that's what
in the
matters.
Says the guy in the
new,
brand new Freightliner.
I'm like a mongoose. If it's shiny, I want it.
in the argument of new versus used, do you side with what Thumper and John have said, or do you have your own opinion?
You know, honestly, years ago when I was younger, before I got into trucking, I always wanted to be my own truck driver with my own pretty truck and all that. But as the years have went by, I'll be honest with you, as long as I'm able to operate a truck and do it professionally as best as possible, I'm happy with what I got.
There you go. That's the important thing. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. I mean, the way they work things today, we can't be responsible or so of years.
Yeah, I think your audio. We lost your audio there for a minute, boss man.
It happens every time I start the music.
Oh, that's good. That's
Get
good.
used to it. I can't change that. Unfortunately, that's a StreamYard defect. StreamYard, you better fix it because I'm getting irritated at that. Anyway, so what you guys saying about new trucks versus used makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, you just got to do the math, know your numbers, just like I said in the first, and make every day count.
I have a closing statement if you don't mind.
Go right ahead. I saw you raise your hand. By all means.
Sorry, guys. I want to break from the show and talking about new trucks for a second, guys. This next week coming up, I don't care. I don't want to know, but just make sure you get out and vote. It's very important. It is your responsibility as an American. Make sure you get out and vote this week. Our country needs it. It really does.
We need every bit of help we can get, especially in today's days and times. So I concur with that 100%. If you haven't early voted already, or if you haven't put in a vote, certainly do think about it. We could use your support. Thumper, what do you got to say?
Oh, we had a really good show for one. A lot of opinions versus used discussion. Figure out what works best for you. You're not a truck driver running a business. You're a businessman driving a truck. If you could figure out the business part of it, you will succeed. You could ask fate. You could ask our operators out here. They'll tell you the same thing. And as for the voting thing, yes, go out and vote. The fate of our country depends on us, not them. We run the country, not them. So make sure you vote. But vote for the right one. And as far as everything else that goes on with the natural disasters, the wildfires, everything else, God bless all the firefighters. God bless EMTs, military, everybody. Salute your flag when you see it. And also, be safe, everybody. We don't do it just for us and our families. We do it for you guys.
Amen to that. Couldn't have been more well said. While you're on the road making a day, making a life and a living, remember, it's the trucks that make the deliveries, but it's you that make the difference. Tune in next week for another episode of Frontline, where we tell you how to make trucking great again. Till then, keep it real, keep it safe, keep it rolling.